Transformers: Rise of the Beast is a blockbuster movie that plays it relatively safe. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I was done with the Transformers series. I didn't care what Michael Bay had in store, and then Bumblebee came out, and it changed my perspective. I actually liked Bumblebee more than I liked the other ones. However, this new Rise of Beast one kind of got me on the fence right now. And this is because the movie falls a bit flat when it comes to storytelling. Even though we've already kind of had a soft reboot of the series, making this like a pre-sequel kind of sense, we're introducing new characters, new environments, and so it feels like we're starting over yet again to a sequel of a movie that was a reboot but not a reboot. Meaning the first act is primarily used for world building, and I think the first act is good and establishes a lot. However, when it comes to the rest of character growth in Optimus Prime or even Noah, it falls really flat. Characters come in via Ex Machina, and other characters' motivations for staying around and being there to save the world just don't feel that closely relative to what's actually going on. Now, there's a split, audience seem to really like this movie and critics don't seem to care as much. So let's go into that. However, I gotta go into spoilers, so you've been warned. Hey, I'm Mario. I like playing video games, watching movies, and Dungeons and Dragons. If you keep getting me in your suggested videos, or you're watching this video right here, consider subscribing. It goes a long way. Thank you. So let's talk about why the audience are enjoying the movie. The pre-sequels, as they are now, are very reminiscent to the cartoons. They're no longer geared towards middle schoolers or teenagers. They're more for family and kids. This is nostalgic for both the parents, and the kids get the same vibes that their parents had when they used to watch the cartoons. Optimus Prime, Bumblebee, and the rest of the Autobots look more reminiscent of their cartoon counterparts, more square and very much more of a silhouette type of figure. However, I still see them as having a bit too much noise, but the movie's gonna movie. As for the plot, it's very easy to follow. Matter of fact, it's very similar to Rise of Skywalker, except less shenanigans. They have a reason for everything happening and they explain it away very clearly, and everything just makes sense. You're never really questioning much, even though they do reach a bit, but it still makes sense and it's coherent. The characters are relatable. Noah, our new protagonist in this one, is a family guy who's just trying to help out his siblings. We all have little brothers that need help or want protecting, and we all want to be the person that saves the world on top of that. It's very simplistic and it's very easy to relate to. We've all had those daydreams and we can see ourselves in his shoes. This goes the same for the Autobots. There's repetitive patterns behind their mannerisms or characters. Some will always do flips and be more acrobatic, others use certain types of guns, and some just have unique features that make them stand out from others. This makes it easier for audience to really grow attached to one of them for any small amount of reason. And of course, the reason you buy the tickets is to see the robots brawl against each other. The action is smooth, crisp, fun to watch. It's all CGI and it looks great. It's tense at moments and it really gets you going and you think some really cool moments happen. I already talked about the plot and the story and how that goes. However, I do have to say the movie knows its audience, right? There's a point where Bumblebee dies, but he's gonna be revived, and they talk about how he's gonna be revived, and there's this anticipation that he's gonna come back. And whenever he does make his triumphant return and he's going in and kicking ass, people in the theaters are happy, and I myself couldn't help but crack a smile, even though we all knew it was going to happen and the movie made it very clear that this was going to happen. Everything is played safe, stuff we've seen before in Suicide Squad, Avengers, even other Transformer movies. It's a doomsday clock with a giant doomsday machine that's going to end the world. Everything that's very familiar. This movie is just pure fun and safe. Now, let's talk about why the critics don't like it and why I'm not as big a fan of it as I was for Bumblebee either. Like I was saying before, having to reestablish the world and the setting around us takes away from the character progression. I think the first act is great for setting up Noah and his family, and it pays off a little more in the third act where there's this very heroic Michael Bay moment where Noah's brother is kind of just like amping him up and pumping him up for a fight. However, it fails when it comes to the main character himself and Optimus Prime. See, they're supposed to be parallels, and the movie mainly just kind of tells us that. It does a decent enough job showing us how, they're not really team players or how they don't get along well with others, and Optimus doesn't trust humans yet, and he regrets the things that he's done, and there's a hint of that with Noah as well. However, it just never gets touched on. These two characters, who are supposed to be parallel, never really interact with one another. It's actually through the side characters that are telling them, like, hey, you're a lot like Optimus Prime, which makes them realize, oh, maybe I should just lighten up on the dude. And this is a pattern that repeats itself consistently, especially for Optimus Prime, because he is technically a side character. He doesn't really share the spotlight as much as Noah and the other characters do. With Optimus Prime, his distrust for humans is taken away when he sees Optimus Primus actually trust humans. He's like, oh, if you trust them, then I guess I can start trusting them too. There's no real struggle of emotions or conflict between the story with his pride or his distrust with humans into the actual plot points of the story. It's just like, hey, get over it now. Same thing goes when Optimus Primus has to basically kill one of his own team members, because it's got to do it for the greater good. It's foreshadowing what Optimus Prime needs to do. Which brings us to the Beast Masters. Is that what they're called? The Beast Transformers? They are really introduced here, even though they're kind of like the flagship, the movie's named after them. They're really just here to make sure all our characters get where they need to go. Whether it's an ex machina of, hey, I'm here to help you because you're losing a fight, or like I was saying before, foreshadowing to help the characters grow, just straight out telling them, hey, this is your point in time where you have to have character growth. You get it? Their story with Unicron is really cool. I enjoyed it. And Scourge, I think his name is Scourge, is really cool. He's getting powered by dark energy that Unicron gets from absorbing planets and that are full of energon. It makes sense that he would just be more powerful than an actual Prime. And usually throughout the movies, Optimus goes in and just deletes everybody with his skill. But this is a person that he can't fight head on, or so I thought. In reality, his one Achilles heel is the fact that everyone was just fighting him one-on-one, and if he fights more than one person at a time, he loses. If you don't believe me, it was made more apparent when Mirage, who did the best against him, actually fought him due to his holograms tricking him, showing us that, oh yeah, his weakness is that he can't fight multiple people at once. Which means never at any point in the movie was there an obstacle for Optimus to overcome. Even his team up with Noah fell flat because every moment he had conflict with his own personal decisions is just given to him through exposition. And he's not the only one. Noah suffers through the same thing. Even though he gets joined with Elena, and who is kind of like his guiding compass when it comes to discovering things emotionally. She's trying to do the right thing. She already knows what's right, and she's trying to help guide him, even though he's in it just for him and his family, which makes sense. But Elena herself's motivations for being there are very loose. It's a bunch of people sitting in a circle talking, and that happens a lot. It's a lot of moments of the characters and the side characters are sitting in a circle talking about what to do next, and really they're just explaining the movie to the audience every single time. And it's these moments that go back to Noah, because after the first act and the second and third act, these group meetings are when Noah gets his exposition dumped to him, saying like, hey, you and Optimus aren't that all different, or you should think like this, or you should do this way. And he's like, you know what? You're right. And to be fair, Noah gets more dramatic moments than Optimus does. Optimus just literally, his moment to shine is like, all right, go do the thing. This is your job, and I trust you now. He doesn't even say those words. But of course, they get to work together. And when they do get to work together, like I said before, it just feels like it's a cool moment for them to fight. Now, his relationship, Noah's and Mirage's relationship, is built really well. It's something that continues, and Mirage has a great charismatic personality, and I think they did a good job in establishing Noah. But when it comes to the story, as in the antagonist and why they're such a threat, or even just what the plot is moving from one point to another, everything felt like it was just handed to us, and it was constantly just being like, okay, we're doing this so we can set up for this next part of the movie. Now, even though the movie washes away most of the character progression and plot and kind of takes away from the dramatic purpose of it all, it still tells a coherent story that's easy to follow and something that we're all very familiar with. Something that I think is happening too often in these superhero-esque type movies that I want to make a future video about. Now, you don't indulge too much in the story, but you do indulge in the action. It's not enough to keep things going for me. That's why I got to give Transformers Rise of the Beast a 6 out of 10. Until next time, guys, play nice. Oh! Did anyone see the end of that movie? Not the end credits, just the end of that movie with the crossover, the G.I. Joe crossover. Blew my mind. Would have never thought something like that would have happened. Tell me if you guys were like standing up in the movie theater with your jaws dropped, like, what? Are they actually gonna do this? Oh my